Hi, I'm Akhil Arora.
Number one hour.
Welcome to The Long Take. This week, we're discussing Bheed, the new Anubhav Sinha movie with Rajkumar Rao, Pankaj Kapoor, and Bhumi Pednekar in the lead. Came to theaters, I think, a couple of months back, and now it's on Netflix in the same form that it released in theaters with all those cuts. But before we get into that, let's look at what remains in the movie. What do you make of it, Ron?
I mean, I couldn't know. See, I know that the cuts have been made,
Hmm.
but I couldn't tell what was cut, aside from, the speeches and stuff.
Right.
Which, if you go into it with that knowledge, then you're gonna notice it, because the movie is severely lacking that, and I understand why they must have wanted it removed, because then it paints, all governments, those kinds of leaders as the villains, basically.
Hmm.
But then if you don't know that, I think the movie itself, beyond that, feels pretty much straightforward. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of the edited bits.
Right, so you're not getting into that first because I have like a full list of the entire thing, modifications that have been made. I was thinking like we'll do that later, but we can get to it now.
Well, I mean, let's just get it out of the way then.
Sure. So obviously, like all the bunch of like cuss words, because like Indian, even if a movie is rated A in India, you can't do profanity in India for some goddamn reason. Which is like minor stuff that happens like in Deadpool also, so that's fine. We've gotten used to that by now. And obviously, and along the same lines, they've also removed like nudity and stuff. And I think it's only one scene in the beginning with Rajkumar Rao, and apparently 14 seconds have been chopped off there.
Okay.
So yeah, those parts are like expected, right? Like you can't really do that in India, apparently, clearly, unless you're making a movie directly for OTT. But beyond that, it's sort of starts to get like really confusing. So the thing you already mentioned, which is remove all the speeches and references, even references. You're not even allowed to refer to the Prime Minister in the movie.
Okay.
So that's all been gone. Along with if you say Pradhan Mantri, all that became Mantri. So there is actually, if you notice, a bunch of Mantris they throw around here and there. That was supposed to be Pradhan Mantri, which is now Mantri. And there were voiceovers of the apparently Arvind Kejriwal as well, which has gone.
Yeah.
Has been replaced with something else. And then getting even more egregious, which is weird because if you're making a movie, like literally, part of the movie is about casteism, right? But the CBFC has decided that you cannot mention caste. So they have removed, not replaced, they have removed all the caste references mentioned in subtitles, all of them.
I mean,
like multiple places. Then apparently the frequency of using the word Tablighi Jamaat has been reduced.
Okay.
So I think we get like one mention or two.
Yeah, in some sort of radio thing.
Yeah. So apparently there were more of those and they've chopped them off because then the world can say it, the news can say it, but you cannot because we control you.
Yeah. Okay.
What else? They removed all the references of like all stats apparently, like whatever stats they want to show about like COVID. I'm guessing just like remove all the stats. They deleted that dialogue which said India ka partition lag raha hai.
Okay.
And made it a very like unfitting. This is such an unprecedented mass migration. Like I remember when this dialogue came, I was like, this doesn't fit. Like just the way the character was talking and this line came, it feels weird. And now I know why. Because this is the CBFC basically is like a uncredited screenwriter. Like they come in and they're like, "Hum dialogue batayenge tumhe, ye likho."
Yeah, it's kind of troubling when you kind of put it, tabulate it down in like one go. Because all of it is motivated by fear, or being caught. And that is kind of scary.
And apparently there's a 27-second like dialogue scene where someone compares Indian society is like Dhrutrashtra till Dhrutrashtra का वो बताना पड़ेगा कि तुम्हारे अपने ही लोग मर रहे हैं. And then apparently that entire dialogue has been taken out.
27 seconds is a chunk,
Yeah. So that is just gone because they were not okay with it for some reason. I can't even tell why because I don't remember the scene where this happens, but it is gone.
So there was that one scene in the middle where the news reporter kind of goes on this. It felt odd to me while watching it also when her camera person is being a cynic and she's like, no, incredible India and everything.
Yeah, that was so weird. Like, but apparently that was not an insertion.
Okay, so no, the opposite of that. I felt that it would have been longer. It felt abruptly cut because I was like, okay, so you're kind of deviating from the vibe of the movie otherwise, and you're going to enter this montage situation with photographs and this person delivering this monologue.
Almost like romanticizing like India's struggle.
Correct. And but then that kind of ends in a very abrupt manner. And I was like, oh, yahan pe it seems as if it would have been better if there was more, oddly enough. So maybe, I don't know, the one that you're referencing, the Dhritarashtra thing, might have been a part.
So this thing apparently happens at 1 hour, 12 minutes and 8 seconds. So if you want to go, if our listeners want to go back, or if you want to go back, you can find where this is supposed to be.
Yeah. What else?
What else? You cannot use the word jihad. Just gone. Goodbye. Muted. Change the disclaimer apparently, which is just whole level of weird. Like what even the disclaimer they wrote is not good enough apparently.
Okay.
And lastly, just reduced the visuals of police brutality. Like don't show police like that badly. They're bad, but they're not that bad.
Funnily enough, I was watching this, I was like, police ko to kafi acha dikhaya hai in this movie.
So yeah, they were like, don't harm the image. Don't show them beating them.
Nicely
so apparently they delete the visual of direct hitting. So it's okay if it's indirect hitting or implied hitting, but direct hitting, no. Our Indian police is good.
So beyond that one key moment towards the end of the movie where this one cop is beating up Lathi se, this one character, and then Rajkumar Rao, that's the moment he kind of transforms also. He kind of rises up and he's like, no, stop. Why are you beating him? Besides that, I don't really see any like harsh violence or anything. In fact, police are simply doing, in fact, they're quite sympathetic towards the police, I felt, the movie, or the version of the movie that we saw now, I should say.
I mean, yeah, some of them are shown to be stupid, like they wanted to recreate that whole, how literal human beings were literally doused with fertilizer.
Yeah, but there's no menace even to that.
Yeah, there's no the menace like only happens in the when the people like almost revolt, right? With like led by Balram Trivedi.
Yeah.
Then obviously the police is like trying to maintain law and order. So they start hitting, and as you said, one guy goes into overdrive. But yeah, apart from that, it's not like
there's no unprovoked violence. There's no like
someone's holding a gun. Like Pankaj Kapoor is holding a gun, and then everyone's guns come out. It's not like their guns come out first.
Yeah, which I thought was, again, I don't know. Now I've got all this in my head now. Because
I was thinking I will do it at the end, but we went into it as we always do.
But I mean, see, overall, I enjoyed this movie mostly. I thought that I didn't notice, for instance, all the stuff that was removed, aside from that one middle part, the sequence that I just mentioned with Kritika Kamra. And obviously I knew that the Prime Minister and Kejriwal things had been removed from all the news.
Yeah, I think also I only knew that because I saw the original now deleted trailer.
With the T. There's no T series, by the way, also in the final movie that we saw.
Yeah. They got so scared. They were just like, even though we gave you money, just remove us.
Even though we gave you money, and even though we've released another movie after this from you,
right,
which is the Afwa thing, right, which also Anubhav Sinha produced. Is also T series. So I don't know, it's just one of those things that, oh yeah, we see the heat coming, so let's get
it's almost that. That's the thing, right? Like if these movies just like don't get any attention, then they don't mind producing them. But it's when like, as you said, like they start generating like controversy, they're like, we cannot be associated with this anymore.
Yeah, the movie was made, the trailer came out, and then uske baad people started losing their minds.
Yeah.
And then apparently it got released in like 50-60 theaters, which is insane, right?
Wow. Yeah. And that's a very easy way to then say the movie flopped, right?
Yeah. So they've completely not only altered the narrative about themselves, oh no, we want to blame for all the people who died, but also like, look at these liberal filmmakers, they can't earn like 50,000 rupees at the box, so they're useless.
Yeah, but I think that's like the first part is the one I find annoying, right? Is that you do all this nonsense for like multiple years. Everyone on TV, everyone on like social media from like every other platform is like talking about these things for like years and years. But you can't represent that very thing which like everyone knows. Like it's the literal like microcosm like version of like what they're doing with our textbooks, right?
Yeah, it is complete erasure, right? And it's not even like Mughal period, it's like literally 2 years ago. Which is,
you are trying to like reframe history in the present, like actively, like real time mein baith ke, like ye okay nahi hai, ye okay.
And a part of me is also kind of annoyed at all this, because then I'm like, "ठीक है man, you deserve it. All these idiots who are supporting this, you probably lost people like last year, and you're now saying like नहीं but उनकी गलती नहीं थी ना, like these people did the best that they could."
Yeah.
And which is the irony, and which is the kind of hole that we're digging ourselves into. I mean, Rajkumar Rao's character in this movie, he starts off as someone who says sarkar sambhal legi types, you know, I have faith in the government. And over the course of the day, he kind of realizes that no, I gotta like take care of myself now.
Yeah, because there is no sarkar, right? Like that's the gut punch he gets like halfway through the movie. He's like, oh, there is no meeting.
Yeah. Nobody's coming to our rescue.
No, yeah. Then forget nobody's coming to rescue. Nobody's even discussing what's happening to you. They're not even sitting at a table and be like, इनके साथ ये हो रहा है, सोचते हैं. नहीं. Everyone's just chilling.
Nobody's bothered, right? And it's not that nobody's bothered about this one group of Muslims that happen to also be caught in this situation. Nobody's bothered about anybody, including the rich person, including the politician, including if you happen to be in that situation at that moment, nobody's bothered about you, right? And I felt that was the neat trick that Anubhav Sinha has kind of pulled off with this movie. Is like he's basically captured and condensed all of that, the complicated experience of the pandemic, into this one location, and with this whatever 100 those log jo bhi the, that is your India now. And I thought,
it would get very weird if he like started showing like, you know, like an anthology type movie where the movie kept switching between locations to show like different sort of like problems people were having.
Actually, what I imagined this would be, like, I didn't know what it was going to be, but then when I heard that, okay, this is a movie about the pandemic and like mass migration, whatever, I thought, acha, theek hai, yahi to hoega. I didn't expect like a single location kind of.
Yeah, he's literally funnels them into like one barricade.
Yeah, which itself is like, if you have to get across, you're going to have to be nice to each other, you know? That is the route to kind of progress, which I thought was, all of these things I enjoyed in the movie, right? That, see, you're not going to get past this one barrier that stands in front of you unless you learn to work together, unless you genuinely, it's not even a compromise situation. You need to genuinely understand that everybody's in the same boat and everybody's equal. And I mean, it's a romanticized kind of this thing also, idea that one day everybody is going to kind of, you know, come together. But that is what the movie, I mean, despite all the, and he's pushing all the buttons here also. It's not like, the opening scene itself is insane. But despite all that, there's also this sense of, maybe ho sakta hai types, you know? And that stuff I enjoyed. I also enjoyed like the building tension aspect of it. Like, oh yeah, it's a ticking time bomb, like waiting to go off.
Yeah. Like it's really as like, you know, like a few people are mass initially and then more people are mass. You're like, this is gonna blow at some point, right?
Yeah.
And they set up nicely as well. Like the moment he comes, like Rajkumar Rao's character, to set up the barricade, they introduce the mall very early on, right? So they've put something in your mind. They're like, यहाँ पे एक नया मॉल है जिसका obviously कोई use नहीं है अभी because lockdown.
Yeah.
But like then it's like in the back of your head, you're like, okay, this is there. Like this is at some point this is gonna come into the equation. It's almost like a Chekhov's gun.
Yeah. And in the back of the head to hai hi, and then in virtually every frame in the background you see it.
Yeah.
Right. And then midway through the movie, Pankaj Kapoor's character very clearly lays the kind of third act out also. He's like, you have 1 hour, right? And if you don't kind of address this situation, I'm going to basically invade the mall, right?
Which is like, that's the like black comedy of this movie in a way, right? It's like there's literally a mall like not like 200 meters away, and everyone's just like for some reason dying in the sun and being told to like sit in this like random plot.
Yeah, it is. The movie is basically about a bunch of people realizing that the government and the officials whom they've elected do not care about them, right?
Yeah. I mean, the movie makes it sometimes a little too on the nose. Like I think, who's the character? Ashutosh Rana character literally says it in one line. I was like, okay, I didn't need that, but like maybe like you didn't need that for some parts of the audience. He's like, yeah, like they're not allowed in the mall after they build it.
Yeah. But the movie does that a lot, right? So it had like the Ashutosh Rana thing that you mentioned, which is him basically reciting poetry at that point, right? That bit, and then there's a couple of bits with Rajkumar Rao himself, you know, about his background, Then there is obviously the Kritika Kamra thing in the middle, right?
Yeah, I think that the media people is the storyline I cared about the least, I think.
Yeah, because those characters are basically empty. We don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
So they're just basically...
They're also given like the toughest lines to deliver, and they just like they don't not able to pull it off.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. So all these movies, we've discussed Faraz on the podcast, right? And I don't remember if we've spoken about Almost Pyar with DJ Mohabbat. But anyway, these filmmakers belong, like they're friends, right? And they kind of consult each other.
Yeah, they're all in the special thanks in the beginning.
Special thanks.
Kashrap and Kansal Mehta.
And all these movies, these 3 movies in particular, and I haven't seen Afwa yet. But these 3 movies in particular, they always have like that one moment where everybody in the movie becomes like a mouthpiece.
Yeah. Which is like his last movie, like Anubhav Sinha, Anek, like as we discussed in the podcast, everyone was a mouthpiece of Anubhav Sinha in that movie. Yeah,
which is the... I guess our podcast has reached that point where I've completely forgotten that we did Anek also. I have no memory of Anek. I just remember...
I think we have to like force ourselves to like forget, otherwise we'll go crazy with the stuff we do.
Are you trying to say we watched Anek? All of it?
Yes, we watched all of it and discussed it like indeed.
I was under the impression I watched
and published the episode
and gave up. But I do remember not liking that movie at all because it was just so like it felt like being lectured to
by Anubhav Sinha. Yeah, like you're in the room with him and he's like, I will not get to go for the next 150 minutes. Stay here with me.
Yeah. And it had no characters, which really sucked.
It didn't need characters. Every character was, as we discussed, was about Anubhav Sinha.
Here he seems to have kind of at least recognized those mistakes and gone back to, the like Article 15 Thappad movies that, were more character driven. Here also...
It's still heavily plot driven, but yeah, more character driven.
Yes, obviously. Yeah, it's heavily plot driven, but I do like the arc, for instance, that the main character has, right? I do like that he's been given a sense of a life also. I like that you see the development in him, right? And also I like my favorite character in the movie is the Pankaj Kapoor character. Because it's very like complicated, right? Because this person is, he verbalizes the humiliation that he's feeling. The performance is...
In going with the film's on the nose thing, like he has a on the nose job, right? He's like, wait, they drew borders in our own country? We can't go from one state to the other?
Yeah. So the movie is filled with moments like this, right? But then I get that you're not doing realism here. So I'm willing to roll with it, especially when you're doing so much, like I said, all the symbolism and stuff. But this Trivedi character, he's a complicated fellow, he's not likable. He's
a bigot.
He's a bigot, and very openly so. Yeah. And he schemes, he's opportunistic. He's so like, he's such a tiny person. But then in his mind, he has built himself up to be like a strong man, right? Probably inspired by someone we know. And then towards the end, the movie kind of...
he's literally a chowkidar.
He's a chowkidar, right? Which is exactly another one of those things that obviously feels very deliberate, like to have him be a chowkidar.
Yeah.
And he's basically behaving like one also, right? Okay, yeah, I'm here. He bolta nahi hai ki I'm here to do the bidding of my overlord, but that's what he's doing. Right. But then towards the end, Rajkumar Rao, through he's like, yeah, man, we don't belong to the same caste. But then in a way, we both are oppressed.
Yeah, and that's what his arc is, right? He's repeatedly humbled across the movie. Like he refuses the food. He's like, no, this is like tainted Corona food. And then like 20 minutes later, he's like, oh, can we please have the food?
Yeah, but the thing is that the movie is like paints him as the villain and then kind of asks you like, is he actually the villain? What else? What did you make of the black and white thing?
I think I was gonna bring up the same thing. It's not entirely black and white. I felt like there was like a yellowish, like very muted yellowish tint in some scenes. Or did I just was that my TV?
It could have been. I don't know. I didn't see it.
Nice. Okay. So I guess it's black and white entirely. I think it plays into like some of the things we've talked about, right? It's sort of like by flattening it out, like you're not looking at now people's like the color of their dresses anymore, right? So it makes in a way everyone the same, which is what the point of the movie is, right? Like you can't look at their skin color, you can't look at like what they're dressed up as and what colors and stuff like so.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there are a million ways to interpret the black and white. The simplest could just be like, oh, sub characters gray hair. So
Right.
one of those things.
Or like, I mean, yeah, the literal thing could be like, you know, just like a sad time, because that's what like black and white is used now in today's, right?
Yeah, also that. Yeah, but I don't know if it added anything to the movie. But then again, I don't know if all the removed portions would have added anything to the movie either.
Yeah, also like I think it also depends on like what the location was, right? If it's actually like they're working with oppressive heat, anyway, like as we know, like sun when it's like that high up, it's gonna like become everything's gonna become white anyway. So I'm not sure what that even color would add to this movie in a way.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, the black and white kind of pushes it further into the realm of kind of fantasy.
Yeah, it does, obviously, because we don't see like that anymore, right? Like it's not like we're still in that film age, we're just coming out to like color. So then people will be used to like black and white. Now this is it's an anomaly. So to then see the entire movie in black and white, like initially obviously not used to it, but I think after a point I think I even forgot that was black and white. And then I had to like remind myself, I was like, okay, it's black and white. Why is it black and white?
And I mean, some shots, they look actually quite nice in black and white, especially towards the end when the sun is setting. And when the whatever standoff happens with the guy from CID and Pankaj Kapoor.
The guy from CID. He is the guy from CID, yeah.
Where basically he's like, "Kitte paise hain?" And he's like, "If I didn't have the money, would I be dead?"
Yeah.
And the guy gives
That's basically what he implies here.
Yeah. And I suppose another humbling moment for Pankaj Kapoor off camera.
Like a watchman would be like smart enough to carry like cash on him.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know about the black and white, but yeah, it did kind of, like I said, made the movie kind of more dreamlike.
I think what's most surprises me about the black and white is that Anubhav Sinha, like, I mean, sure, he's one of the producers, but like he convinced the other producers that he was gonna do this, and they were gonna still release his movie in theaters and not like we're gonna sell it to an OTT platform.
I feel
like the fact that a black and white movie made it to like cinema in India, just like I'm gonna have a hard time convincing someone.
Or it might be one of the situations where I feel that Anubhav Sinha has struck a deal with T-Series for like 3 films.
He's gonna make like 3 sequels to like the movies he needs to make in 2000s.
No, or yeah, like one of some like tu hamare liye 50 music video, whatever the deal is. But it's like you have basically blank check and you owe us 3 movies and
sell a part of your soul if you want black and white. Yeah, यहाँ पे sign करना है with your.
No, might not even be that, right? It might just be like here's money for 3 movies and you give us those 3 movies. You basically have blank check, and this is probably Anubhav Sinha post Thappad, right? Which is everybody's like, oh, hot streak chal raha hai iska.
Oh, like he got that 3 film deal and this movie is one of those.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So then he goes and makes like Anek, this and whatever else, and then
it's gonna come up.
Yeah, TC is like, oops, you know.
Gave him too much freedom. Not again.
Never again. But then yeah, it does feel like इसके बाद नहीं होगा. Like ये तो काट दिया, but आगे से we're not even going to let them like get this thing off the ground. Like it's not going to get to the point where you have to kind of involve the CBFC to make changes or whatever, you know. Like it feels like one of those moments where, considering what's happening.
Yeah, but that's already happened, right? Like I think where it's gotten to the point where producers don't even greenlight your stuff.
Yeah, it has happened, you know.
Or like we have got stuff where like people have made movies and they haven't gotten released, like Diwakar.
Like the Diwakar Banerjee's film, yeah. So it might be one of the
like that's gonna start happening with these filmmakers, and then when it happens to multiple of them, and then some producer will be like, wait, why should I even make your movie? What if you become Diwakar?
Yeah. Or what if you make a Bheed for us? And it's like a whole mess.
It'll get to that point, so they'll stop even like allowing them to film it. And then we'll be in a place where like Indian filmmakers will be like go into like 17 different like European film like mini, like whatever. What do you call them? Like people who bank
Financiers.
like grants. Yeah, finances. Yeah, just to like make one movie.
Forget grant to government dega. वो तो they'll have to get like some Russian oligarch to fund their movies. So yeah, enjoy it while it lasts. In whatever like half-eaten form it is.
Until like everything in theaters is either Kashmir Files or Kerala Story.
What will become of us then? This is a weekly podcast.
I mean, I think we know what will become of us. There's enough history out there to like borrow and be like, that's us. That's the template. We're one triumph of the will away from something.
So I mean, I guess on that note, let's move.
Yeah, time to wrap up before they wrap us up.
Yeah.
Okay then, that's all for this episode of The Long Take. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at thelongtakepod. You can write to us at thelongtakepod@gmail.com. Please leave us a rating and a review wherever you listen to this episode, and we will see you next week.